Thursday. What is today? Thursday, Wednesday? It's Thursday. We're here talking all things that are going on in the sports world right now. We had so much going on yesterday that we could barely fit everything in. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Dak Prescott. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whatever comes across our mind, because there are a lot of storylines going on right now, especially in the NFL. But before we get to all that fun, before we get to all that action, I got to bring in my co-host because he's going to help carry the load here on FPC Radio Live. He is Mike Debate. Mike, what's up, buddy?
La, la, la. It is Thursday, by the way. Thursday, March 11th.
Yeah, I got a little confused.
You did. Yep, you did. Exactly. But just letting the public know that both of us now know what day it is. All kidding aside, almost through another work week. Really, it is going to be a busy few days in the NFL coming up. A lot going on. You mentioned Dak Prescott. There's a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. So without further ado, buddy, let's get into it.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I want to talk about right off the bat. A little bit of news came out yesterday about not the NFL, but a couple other FLs potentially coming together.
Possibly talking. Merger. A merger.
Yeah, that's right. Say it again.
Merger.
Yeah, okay. So if you weren't paying attention, or if you didn't see it last night, because it seemed to have come out later in the evening, at least here on the East Coast, but apparently the XFL, now owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his ex-wife, but business partner, Danny Garcia, are opening and beginning discussions with the CFL about, like I said, a possible
merger.
That's right. Love that, the Semi-Pro. I love that movie. But it's interesting because it's I think, when the news came out, obviously that The Rock, as most of us, or at least we know him as, because of watching him as a professional wrestler back in the day. I have a lot of confidence in anything that he does, whether it's movies, TV, writing books, it doesn't matter. Whatever The Rock touches turns to gold, and I think he's the right person to help, repair an XFL that was turning the corner, but unfortunately was one of the leagues that, or one of the businesses that was just absolutely just hammered by the pandemic. Obviously, it was, a year ago this week that we saw a lot of sports leagues shut down, including the XFL, which ultimately led to their permanent pause, which ultimately led to The Rock buying it. But anyways, the CFL obviously has been a staple in Canada for quite some time. And again, they play under different rules. There's certain, a lot of aspects obviously of the game of football are going to be the same, but just the way the game is played up there, there are differences to the NFL and college game down here. So I'm going to be interested to see how this works. But I know there's a lot of folks out there. Kyle Senra is one of them. Big CFL fans. I'll be interested to see what happens and how this evolves and expands, because, right off the bat, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, I'm intrigued as well. When you talk about the XFL being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, CFL impacted by a big way as well. They were, you can make the argument that maybe they were hit hardest by some of the fallout from that pandemic. Obviously, they had to cancel their 2020 season. They weren't able to secure, I think they needed approximately $30 million in aid from the Canadian government. They didn't get it, forced them to shut their season down. Now, the CFL has announced a full 2021 schedule that's going to begin with preseason games. They're slated to get going in late May. So it's unclear how this would impact that, how the pandemic is still going to impact attendance at games. That's the league's primary revenue stream. So if they're seeking some sort of financial stability or some sort of financial aid, and the XFL can give that to them, all of a sudden this is looking pretty promising. I know a lot of CFL fans are worried this could possibly sink the CFL. We've heard that, bantered about the last, few hours since this story broke. I'm with you. I have a lot of faith in what Dwayne Johnson does. This is a guy that doesn't invest lightly. He doesn't throw his money around haphazardly. He's got a very good track record of backing solid projects that have a great track record of success. So if he's going to put his name onto it, and this is actually going to come to fruition, the CFL may have found themselves a good partner. It makes some sense. We'll see what happens. I'm mostly curious to find out how they meld these two leagues together in terms of gameplay on the field. The CFL game is different from the NFL, and the NFL, obviously, the XFL is different from the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see if they kind of try to blend a three-type, gameplay on the field hybrid to put a product out on the field. There's a lot of possibilities here. So I, like you, am intrigued, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this merger. But this could end up being a good deal for both teams. I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the XFL wants to be different from the NFL. So the natural combination of the two leagues makes sense. Obviously from just a philosophical standpoint. Now, again, logistically, that's a different story. That's why there are discussions going on. This isn't a, hey, you want to merge? Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go. No, this takes time, but I think both leagues, and look, the XFL brain trust is being creative here. They've seen two attempts, albeit very distant, 18 years apart, fail for different reasons. Again, I and at the time we talked about this. I remember last year we talked about this. This wasn't so much an indictment on the product of the XFL. I actually thought it was pretty good. Again, unfortunately, no one saw what we have been dealing with coming. If Vince McMahon could see that coming, then well, he wouldn't have launched a league right in the middle of it. So
Right.
Again, there's lessons to be learned from both. I think The Rock, who again we call him The Rock, he's Dwayne Johnson. He's played football. He's one of the most successful Hollywood figures. All around, for the most part, no one's, I can't imagine anyone saying a bad thing about the guy. And like you said, his business ventures have been pretty successful. I mean, again, he's the equivalent of, in the wrestling world, I guess, of guys like Tom Brady and LeBron James, the most marketable figures in the industry. And The Rock certainly turned that into quite a lucrative career. And look, I'm going to put my faith in him and see what ideas that he, and again, we're not trying to short Danny Garcia here. I mean, she's just as vital of a part
absolutely.
of all of this. So when we say The Rock, we're obviously talking about, the whole group there. But
yeah, The Rock and of course Redbird as well. That's
yeah,
their,
exactly.
financial backing team.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole team as a whole, definitely. But obviously, I mean, The Rock being the most high profile of that group, and his track record with everything that he's done in his career is naturally going to be there. But I'm glad that you made that that distinction, because that is an important part of it. Both Danny and also the Redbird investment team as well being behind this is only enhancing the chances for this to be able to be a success. So dynamite drop it.
Yeah, hey, look, it's gonna be fun to see how it plays out. I can't imagine, and I think it's already been said that they anticipate 2022 at the earliest. A lot of things have to happen, but considering the time and where where we're at right now, maybe you're gonna accelerate that a little bit to help relieve some of the financial issues that both of these leagues have gone through. So I was happy to be able to bring that up and talk about that and see that yesterday. That was exciting, and I'll be interested to see. And maybe this brings the CFL game, the product, into the United States. I mean, we love football down here, so there's I'm sure there's a lot of good football up there. I admit I don't watch ever. I don't ever see it. I don't know much about the game at all. So for folks like me, it would be great to see a different type of football, a professional league that again does have some history. So anyways, speaking of football, speaking of football, we talked a lot yesterday about franchise tags. We didn't mention any quarterbacks, actually. So, well, maybe we did. Certainly not Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Well, actually, John Sapichetti did. He felt the need to defend Aaron Rodgers. I mean, look, I don't blame him. A lot of Rodgers fans feel that way. It's a need that they they get a little defensive at the notion that Aaron Rodgers is somewhat of a guy who comes up a little bit short in the big moments. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk quarterbacks, but not them. We're going to talk Dak Prescott first of all, because we didn't even bring him up yesterday. I don't think so. I mean, if
no, very
Yeah.
if we did, it was very very seldom, very very little. So no, we do need to talk some Dak Prescott, and yeah, apparently healthy and had some things to say yesterday, didn't he, bud?
Well, look, I mean, he this has been an ongoing story for a couple of years now. Obviously, he got injured last year, which that's the nature of this game. That you might sign these big contracts and you might have these big numbers being thrown about in front of you, but it could all be gone in an instant. And look, there was a chance that Dak could have lost quite a bit of money. He could have lost quite a bit of a lot of things if this didn't play out the way it did. Now, you can sit there and say, look, the Cowboys probably should have taken care of him a long time ago. I think a lot of people felt when he got injured, the first thing, aside from hoping that, he comes through all this, was thinking, okay, well, now all of a sudden the Cowboys, well, they didn't pay Dak, and now all of a sudden Dak's kind of screwed because, well, he's going into a year without a contract and he's coming off a major injury. So I guess in a way, good on the team for paying him that money. I think it was long overdue because I do like Dak Prescott as a player. I still, I'm not entirely sold that he's the next Tom Brady as some people think, but he's a really good quarterback, and I think given what this league is, you got to pay those guys. You got to pay your best players, and he's one of them. And look, last year we saw Zeke Elliott that didn't look like that top stud running back that we saw his first couple years in the league, and that might not be a temporary thing. So you really want to keep that quarterback. Now, on the flip side, the Cowboys aren't really that good. I mean, let's be honest. The defense, I don't see it. Look, there's a long time between now and the start of the season, so they can certainly improve. But, I mean, you got your quarterback locked up. That's great, but I don't know how good this Cowboys team really is outside of the quarterback.
Well, I think we're going to find out eventually. I mean, not that I think we will find out eventually, but I think you'll find out as the season goes on. Look, they're going to have to add some pieces. They're going to have to see what they have in house right now and how they need to improve. Bottom line, I'm more on the side of yours than anyone else right now. I really think that the Cowboys have a lot of talent on the periphery, meaning that you look at the names that jump out at you, and you look at some of the players that they have on this team and you say, okay, well, they got some young budding talent there in CeeDee Lamb. They've got Zeke Elliott who can carry the ball. They've got a pretty good defense that needs maybe a piece here and there, but they can contend. It's really going to depend on how they all come together and how Mike McCarthy is going to be able to bring this team to where they need to be. Those are things that have not been easy tasks before, not for McCarthy and not for the Cowboys as a whole. The piece that they have in place in quarterback is a great piece, and I have a lot of confidence in Dak Prescott, and I think he will be a good quarterback for this team for many years to come. But when you talk about Super Bowls, and Dak mentioned this yesterday when he spoke to the media regarding his contract extension, that's something that is that's a whole other animal. And now you're talking about teams that you have to compete with, like the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think up and down the NFC West, you've got contenders all in that division. If Chicago is able to add a competent quarterback, all of a sudden they become a threat in that half of the NFL. This is going to be an interesting year for Dallas, and A lot of expectations are going to be put on them now that we know that Dak is going to be healthy. He's going to be ready to start the season. Now comes the work to put in on the field. Can they put it all together? They haven't been able to do it up to this point, but maybe this is the year they finally are able to break through.
Yeah, hey, it's been what, 25, 30 years? We're getting it's getting to be some time here.
Yeah,
so
it has been.
This is not just a recent issue for the Cowboys, so they're going to have a lot of work ahead of them. But the important,
and they'll be doing some restructuring of the contracts too. I just Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, L. Collins were reworked yesterday. Don't be a bit surprised to see them try to rework some of the big contracts that they have. Amari Cooper, his name's come up. DeMarcus Lawrence is a possibility. I think they may even try to dip into Zeke Elliott's contract as well. So keep a sharp eye on Dallas, folks. Going to be an interesting offseason there.
That's right. Always keeping a sharp eye, Mike. Are they the best team in the NFC East? Right now? Do you think? No? Yes? I don't know if they are. I happen to think...
I don't know if they are. I really don't know if they are.
I think I'd put Washington. Yeah.
I think Washington right now, I think Washington has the best defense by far of any of the four teams in that division. Again, if they can add a competent quarterback, all of a sudden you look at this, and that's no knock to Alex Smith, folks. I'm not saying that. But if they can add a quarterback that they can start to build around for the future, all of a sudden that team's looking very potent and they're looking pretty good. Don't sleep on the New York Giants. I know people constantly say, I'll believe it when I see it with the Giants, especially the last few years, but they're building something there. Joe Judge is slowly putting together a team. You add some pieces here and there on defense, maybe another runner on offense to take some of the pressure off of Saquon. All of a sudden they're looking pretty good. So I don't know if I'd say they're in the mix. They're definitely in the conversation. At the end of the day, they may end up being the best in the NFC East. But right now, I don't know if I'm willing to go that distance to crown them the top team in that division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like I said, I'll put Washington up there, even with some question marks at quarterback still, obviously going into next season. So we did get a little bit more clarification and details on something that we talked about yesterday, and that is this song will officially be back. That's right. We talked to quite an extent yesterday about this, and obviously if you didn't tune in yesterday and you weren't paying attention, this is the NHL on ESPN's theme they've been using for basically since the Cowboys last were in the Super Bowl, going back to, those mid-90s conversations and playoff series. But the NHL and ESPN have come together and signed an agreement for the next 7 years that will bring hockey back to the worldwide leader in sports, as they've been dubbed. And it's just, look, for me as a hockey fan, someone who's watched the sport for a long time and whose roots are rooted in the era in which we heard this song, Gary Thorne, Barry Melrose, all those guys. I'm excited. They confirmed this music will be back. So far, plus 100 when it comes to the return of hockey to ESPN.
Oh, definitely, without any question. And, I was thinking of you yesterday when I saw that, Gary Thorne is possibly open. I guess they asked him the question, and he says he'd love to talk to them. Just a great thing to see NHL.
I did not see that, actually.
Yeah. You did not see that. That is, yes. Apparently, he was asked the question. Apparently, folks, this is not official or anything like that. I think it was just Gary giving an opinion, and he says, I would love to talk to them. So it looks like maybe that a reunion could be had if sides can work out agreements. And obviously, there's a lot that would have to be worked out. This is far from being a slam dunk, but you have to think that that's something that was on ESPN's mind when they brought this back. And you have to think it's something on Gary's mind as well. I mean, he's, for a number of years, he and alongside, Doc Emmerich were really, I think, two voices of hockey, at least. Those are the two names and those are the two voices that I'll always remember when I came to a national stage for the National Hockey League. But I can't wait to see it. I really can. I'm glad that they're back on ESPN. I'm glad ESPN is going to be giving them their just due, because I think in a lot of ways the NHL has taken a back seat on the worldwide leader for the last few years since their television contract ended and they went elsewhere. This is going to give them an opportunity to get back in the national spotlight with ESPN as well. So I think a good move for hockey, a great move for ESPN, and I'm looking forward to it. I just want the song, damn it. I just want to hear that song over and over again.
Yeah, I'm trying to, let's see. Just trying to bring this up because of course, yeah, there we go. All right, so to go back in the Wayback Machine, let's listen to a call.
Have more of the quick changes on these lines here as we go into this second overtime. Gretzky had it, lost it. Yzerman picks it up. Yzerman moving, blue line chance. Score! Steve Yzerman! Detroit wins!
Now, folks, obviously I'm watching this on YouTube. But if anyone remembers, and if, again, the brief mention of Wayne Gretzky in this scenario might give it away, but this was his very brief time, very brief period with the St. Louis Blues. And this was the famous double overtime win. Big shot by Steve Yzerman right across the blue line, snapped it right under the post. I mean, anyone who's, obviously paid attention and followed this game, they know that. That's a pretty infamous highlight. And, of course, Gary Thorne was on the call for ESPN at the time. And I remember watching that game. I don't have too many vivid memories from some of those mid-'90s that don't involve Simpsons episodes and some TV shows and whatnot. But I remember that. I remember watching that and staying up because I used to love watching that type of stuff.
Absolutely, and it'll only get better, from this point. I mean, it'll not for anything, and it probably never will equal the magic of the original. I'm sorry, I sound like an old man, but it's the truth. But at the same time, this is going to be a great opportunity for ESPN to bring hockey back, to get that audience that I think they've lost a lot since then. And like I said, we're bringing everything back. I'm just waiting for the announcement on the Melrose mullet. That's what I want to see too. I want it all back, damn it. I want everything the way it was when I was a kid, because I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah, well, I trust me, I don't think you're going to have to force Barry Melrose to have the mullet. I'm pretty sure he still has the mullet, and will always have the mullet. One of the most famous hockey mullets. No, I'm excited. Again, a lot of it's nostalgia. At the end of the day, I hope that they bring good coverage to this team and to this league rather, and I think they will. Again, the reason why I like those guys so much, obviously the voices, but the opinions and the knowledge of the game and how they presented it, and it'll be fun to see and fun to play out. But I believe ESPN will have 4 of the next 7 Stanley Cup Finals, so that's going to be a pretty huge deal, and we're going to get to see that on ESPN. And of course, in the age that we are in, there will be more streaming opportunities for people especially in the United States when it comes to watching hockey, because obviously being on ESPN, that means they're involved with Disney and Disney Plus and yada yada yada.
Right.
Your streaming prices are going to go up. Let's just put it that way.
It will.
That's fine.
ESPN Plus, definitely a part of that. What is it? The Disney and the Hulu package.
Yeah,
you get the whole. You get the whole shebang. Yeah, that's.
It's a good package.
I have it. I have it. I should
too.
know that. I should know what's in it. What I'm paying for. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? But no, all kidding aside, it probably will hike. But you know what? NHL's coming back. They bring back that song. Worth every dollar.
That's what I'm saying.
Every last penny.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, look, I've recently put it back as my ringtone, and we're just gonna bask in the glory of it the rest of the show. We're just gonna play this on loop for the last 24 minutes of show. No, not really. We're not gonna do that. But this might be my favorite part, the subtle little dramatic downturn where now like I said yesterday, this is where you describe the action, what's going on, what's the storylines, what's really getting people. Love it, Mike. But no, there's something else we didn't really talk about yesterday, surprisingly. surprisingly, considering we had three people that have their roots in New England. But actually, we might have talked about it briefly, but not long enough. A big Trent Brown. Patriots acquiring Trent Brown, returning or reuniting him with the team that he won a Super Bowl with a couple years ago, and last couple years been out in Oakland / Las Vegas. It's good to have Trent Brown back. I mean, look, this is a big guy. One of my favorite photos that ever have come out is a picture of him and Mike Reese standing next to each other, except that Mike Reese is on a stepladder because the height difference is just so drastic, and it was actually necessary and not so much done for comedy, but actually out of necessity. So obviously this is going to have a lot of impact on a lot of other potential moves the Patriots may make. Obviously, Joe Thuney first comes to mind. Now, right off the bat, I think, okay, this probably means Joe Thuney is not coming back. He was not franchised. Perhaps they look at this and say, hey, we like what we got in some of our younger guys. The addition of Trent Brown adds some more stability. You can move on from Joe Thuney and not hurt too much. You're going to hurt. I mean, the guy's a great player, so you're going to miss that aspect of it. But I love the move. I think it, if anything, it's you're trying to build from the inside out. And, something that I felt I have been feeling for quite some time is this tells me that, well, you know what? Cam Newton's probably going to be back. I just don't see another quarterback option that they're going to go out and get. And hey, if you're going to bring Cam back, why not bulk up this offensive line and if anything, utilize his strength and the strength of some of their other players in the running game. So,
well, regardless of who they're going to be blocking for, and
Yeah.
I think you make an interesting argument on Cam. That's how I feel as well. Although there are still rumors bandied about there that the Patriots are ready to move on from Cam, that they have other names in mind. I know Jimmy keeps getting thrown out there, folks. The more I'm hearing about Jimmy Garoppolo, the less I'm hearing about it. And of course, threw a wrench into the plans yesterday when the N'Keal Harry story came out, and everybody's thinking, oh, we'll just throw him N'Keal Harry over in San Francisco and they'll give us Jimmy Garoppolo. It does not work that way, folks. Take a little reality pill, come back down to earth, put the feet on the ground, and start thinking rationally. That's not going to happen. But you mentioned Trent Brown, and John and I talked a little bit about him yesterday, but you're right, we really didn't delve into the subject. I love the move for the Patriots. It's low risk. They gave up a 5th rounder in 2022. They get back Trent Brown and a 7th rounder. So in a long run, he's going to provide massive insurance and a lot of versatility on that offensive line. Joe Thuney is probably not coming back. I'd say probably 99.5% chance he does not return to New England. Just simply the logistics of it. The two sides are very far apart from those that I've spoken to, close to both sides. And it just doesn't make any sense at this point. If they were going to try to buy some time to sign him long term, they probably would have saddled him with the franchise tag and then worked something out then. So Thuney is most likely gone. And that's something that is a shame in New England. Joe Thuney was one of those Swiss Army knives along the offensive line that could do it all. I've seen him line up at center. I've seen him line up at guard. If he needed to slot in as a tackle, he could do it. He was just one of those guys that could do everything. He would do anything the team asked him to. And you're going to miss someone like that with his leadership skills and his abilities. He's about to get a big contract out on the open market. More power to him. And I couldn't be happier for the guy because he's been a joy to cover up here in New England. But I will say this about Trent Brown. A lot of people are assuming that he's just going to take over the left tackle position and they're going to move out Isaiah Wynn, or they're going to put Isaiah Wynn on the block. I don't think the Patriots are ready to move Isaiah Wynn just yet. I think they like what they see. This kid plays a solid left tackle when he's healthy. That's been the key. And that's the only problem that I can see with Isaiah Wynn. He can handle doing the blocking. He can handle taking care of the blind side. But it's all about health and it's all about staying on the field. If for any reason he can't and he has health problems this year, you have Trent Brown who can play a solid left tackle and he will play that position. Now, who moves into the left guard position when Thuney goes? I believe it's going to be Michael Wainu, and I think he's going to move over, play that left guard position. Can you picture the left side of that Patriots offensive line? You're standing there, and you got Trent Brown at the tackle position, and then you slot inside, and you've got Michael Wainu standing right next to him. Do you want to talk about Twin Towers, folks? That is going to be an interesting and daunting task for any defensive line lining up against these guys. On the right side, I think a lot of people are saying that this means Marcus Cannon is most likely gone. Maybe you can make that argument. If that is indeed the case, then it would mean that Trent Brown would play right tackle, and it would probably mean that Shaq Mason would maintain his status as the right guard. And then you're looking at Cannon being expendable. And if the Patriots do cut him, they stand to save about $6.25 million. So interesting things going on in New England right now. I like the move for the offensive line because it gives the Patriots a lot of options.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And I mean, this is something we should see coming. I mean, look, they've got to they got to rebuild this team, and how do you do that? Well, you do it from the trenches out. They don't have that quarterback yet. For years, you always had Tom Brady. You didn't have to worry about that. The worst thing you had to worry about was trying to re-sign him, and that was, again, relative to what the situation they're dealing with now, that was a lot easier. So you always had Tom Brady, but the philosophy was the same. You start from the inside out. Well, how often would we see the Patriots draft linemen and on both sides of the ball? Well, they do it quite a bit, and there's a reason why. Because this team, it gets built that way. I mean, successful teams get built that way. You see successful teams have strong lines of scrimmage on both sides. Doesn't mean they're necessarily dominating all the time. It just means they're consistent and they're good. I mean, and really good teams obviously have dominating offensive and defensive lines, but the Patriots, again, if they did anything well last year, it was rushing and running the football. They know, worst case scenario, they can accomplish that, maybe a little bit more of that this year if what they had last year returns. Now, this team has, $60 some odd million to spend now. Again, a lot of that's going to go away with certain deals.
64.5.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, the way some people view it, it's like, wow, they're going to spend every last dollar of that. No, that's not really how it works. And as we've seen over, years of data and analysis, the teams that spend the most don't necessarily win the most. So, the Patriots will spend. They will improve their team. And I think that does involve bringing back Cam Newton to play behind this offensive line that they're trying to put together with or without Joe Thuney. I think, again, most people assume he will not be there. And that's, that's part of the business. You expect things like this to happen, especially for a guy that has played every snap of his NFL career and never missed a game and played in multiple Super Bowls. I mean, this guy was he was great, part of that Chandler Jones trade, that everyone was bemoaning for quite some time. Oh, why'd you give up Chandler Jones? He gets 16 and a half sacks in the first 8 games and then goes away for 8 games. So whatever. I'm not going to sit here and rant about Chandler Jones. That's in the past, Mike, in the past. But the point is, this is what happens. This is the business of football. Players, they do well, they get paid, they move on.
Are you saying this is the business we've chosen?
This is the business we have chosen, Mike.
This is the business we've chosen.
Well done.
I didn't ask. Sorry, I won't go on. No, that's it. I won't go on the full rant.
I wasn't sure.
Save that for the Shea Vippy.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was giving you the breather for that one to give you a chance if you wanted to. But look, you have to replace players. Every team has to do that. And I think the Patriots are. You can kind of see what they're doing. They make a move for Trent Brown. That's a move that again that speaks to what they're trying to do. Well, let's strengthen the line. Let's not. We're not gonna go out and get Ryan Fitzpatrick. And again, do I have to remind you about Jimmy Garoppolo, or not you, but everyone?
Oh, no. I don't think you get me. I want out permanently.
That's right. I'm done with it. Jimmy's staying in San Francisco. Even if he was available, why are you going back to the well? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, it just doesn't make sense, and I think it's a yearning that I think is based more off familiarity and perhaps a bond folks created with Jimmy while he was here and played 6 quarters of NFL football. I just don't get it. I mean, I understand. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's going to do well out in San Francisco. I just think the time has passed with him and the Patriots. Let's just forget about it. Let's move on. Again, I'm going to reiterate it one more time. I think Cam Newton is the best option, assuming Houston doesn't come up and say, "Hey, do you want Deshaun Watson for a 3rd-round pick?" No. Then maybe you sit there and say, "Well, sorry, Cam, we're going to move on." But for the most part, I think this team should be very patient. Run it back with Cam. Get an actual good, legitimate look at him in this offense. He's not going to be here for 15 years, but he could really keep things together for the next couple of years while this team, again, retools. Something that they've done multiple times, but the difference was they had Tom Brady at quarterback, so you never actually felt like they were doing it because they were always competitive and always in AFC championship games. This is just the reality. I like the move for Trent Brown. I think it's kind of showing you what the Patriots are going to do. Everyone's talking about quarterback in the first round. I bet you they're going to draft an offensive or defensive lineman. And everyone's going to be like, who the hell is that? Who is that? He's going to suck. Next thing you know, he's going to be a starter by the end of the season. You'll be like, yeah, this guy was great, one of the best draft picks of the first round. Well, guess what?
I mean, I think I would caution Patriots fans to be prepared for Bill to do a lot of defensive drafting in this draft. I think this is a deep class. I think this is a class where a lot of guys that are in this mode fit the bill. No pun intended.
No. It was intended.
They fit the
mold.
Well, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, maybe it intended a little bit. Intended a little bit. Just a bit. I think people have to really prepare themselves for the fact that he is going to go defensive minded. There are a lot of players that do fit the mold here in New England, guys that he can bring in, linebacking help. The interior of that defensive line needs some work, even if they sign both Lawrence Guy and Adam Butler. And that's not a slam dunk, folks. Lawrence Guy, Adam Butler each could end up going out on the open market, commanding pretty big deals and deciding that greener pastures are not in Foxborough. If that happens, then the Patriots really need some help in the middle part of that defensive line. But ultimately, they're going to need some help. And I think a younger player, if they are able to get 1 or 2 of those guys back in the fold, a younger player would fit that mold quite nicely. And there are a few players that can play that interior. So, we look at what the Patriots might do. I know there's still some speculation about Kyle Van Noy and where he might go. He has officially been released yesterday. A lot of cap casualties for all of the cap is crap, Mike.
Yeah. $182.5 million this year.
Oh, it's
Down.
Terrible. It's crap. It doesn't matter. That's the cap does matter, folks. It matters, and it matters in a big way. But whatever, people can talk about it all they want to, and they like making names for themselves when they do that. But basically, there are cap casualties that are happening all over the NFL right now, and it'll be interesting to see where some of these guys land. One very familiar face in the AFC East was cut loose yesterday. Who knows? Could be a fit for the Patriots. John Brown, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, great vertical threat, pretty good hands. Probably going to play with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder this year. I don't think he's happy about being cut loose by Buffalo, who really is on the cusp of something pretty special, I think, up in Western New York. So we'll take a look. We'll take a look and see what's going on there. But this is going to be an interesting off season, buddy. No question.
No, absolutely. And it all starts officially, the new league year, this coming Wednesday, a week from yesterday. Yes. Yesterday, Mike. Yep. A week from yesterday, not today. I blame John for that. Usually he's on Tuesday, so that's what I was kind of basing it on. So we got about 10 minutes or so. Probably a little bit less, but I did see something pop up on Twitter today that intrigues me and will intrigue you as well. Netflix is coming out with a documentary about the very last Blockbuster video. Now, I know. Oh, who cares about Blockbuster? Whatever, I care, Mike. I care. I miss that smell of plastic, walking in. I miss that just, I don't know if it was a spray or what, but there was a very distinct smell when you walked into like a Blockbuster or a Hollywood Video or whatever. I mean, we'll say Blockbuster just because this is what the documentary's about. But, you know, obviously the convenience is unmatched now. I mean, I could rent a movie. I could pretty much do everything without getting out of my chair. I mean, if I really wanted to, including renting movies, buying movies, all that stuff. But I miss the adventure. I miss going to it. I miss browsing the movies. I miss looking at all the candy as you walk around the corners. You know, what am I going to impulse buy now? Is it overpriced Twizzlers? Is it overpriced Reese's? Is it this big bag of dots that I have no need for, but I'm going to get anyways because Blockbuster had it? And then I also loved watching the folks creepily walk into the XXX section, you know. Very try to be very slick, like, ooh, check out this movie, and you know, you just kind of slinker on into the beaded section. It would always make noise because there was beads. It would always grab everyone's attention, and be like, oh, there goes another going off into into the adult section. But look, it was a great experience. I loved obviously going to the a Blockbuster or whatever. Obviously, this is something that folks our age appreciate a little bit more because, well, they haven't really been around for a while. And they talk about this last Blockbuster. I seem to recall within the last 5 years, it was in like some Midwestern state. But, you know, for the most part, these stores have shut down quite a long time ago.
They have. They really, really have. And this one definitely catches my sharp eye. We all know that in a former life, or maybe some of our listeners don't know this, but we all know that in a former life, I actually worked at a Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
It was one of my first. That was my first real job.
Yeah.
My first actual job was, as a day camp counselor at the day camp there in Johnston, Rhode Island. But as a matter of fact, Finn was actually one of them.
I was going to say the entire state. Yep. The entire state of Rhode Island attended this camp, actually.
Yes, they did. Absolutely. All 15 people that live here. And no, all kidding aside, folks. But I did. I worked at a Hollywood Video. So I was part of the competition. I tried to take the competition by the throat, but I did not. They actually put us out of business. And, it was, and it wasn't even close. And now none of it was
actually Mike's fault,
anymore,
too.
But it was, yes. You look up the reason for the demise of Hollywood Video and you get that picture of me superimposed on Benny Mardona's face. That's exactly it. That's it. Right there, and to keep a sharp eye, that's it. So I guess you can say both companies went into the night. Yeah. But
you're really tempting me here, Mike. You're really tempting me.
I know you're tempted. I know you are, but it is interesting to see. I will be interested to see like the last one and how it hung on. You could see the handwriting on the wall. I mean, things started to change when DVDs came out. And we started to rent DVDs as opposed to renting, videotapes, and that was right. That was right in the thick of while I was working there, and you could see the rentals start to decline. People were they were purchasing DVDs because they knew that they would last. They would last for a good long while. They were becoming a lot more, economical to do that, and rentals were going way down. And you could almost see the handwriting on the wall that rental was not going to really last. There was probably a downturn coming, and then of course the streaming services really completely.
Well, I was just going to say the irony of Netflix releasing this documentary is in this case, it's like Vince McMahon releasing a documentary about WCW and how he put them out of business. Because
that's rise and fall of WCW.
Yeah, pretty much.
Vince would actually, you know what? Vince would actually be pretty good at. He would have actually been pretty good at producing this video.
Imagine Vince McMahon working at just a video store. Talk about like a terrible spin-off show, but just everything about Vince is the same, except instead of running World Wrestling Entertainment, he works at Hollywood Video next to Mike. Like you're like his boss. It's like a cue the crappy sitcom music, and it's Mike and Vince McMahon, blah 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 blah. One guy's used to be a billionaire, the other guy is 5'2". Right? Yeah, exactly.
Hey, 5'2".
Whatever. 5'3". I'm sorry.
Hey, we'll get it right. I mean, come on.
that all important inch.
Yes.
If I had a nickel for it, no, you know what? Never mind. Let's just end the show
Yeah, you
now
don't want
before.
to finish. You do
we're
not
trying
want to finish that. I guarantee.
we're gonna end on a high note. We had a lot of fun. Obviously, we tried to touch up some of the topics that we couldn't get to yesterday or didn't give enough time to yesterday. But we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, so we're gonna wrap up the week. We're gonna prime up, get ready for free agency. It starts on Wednesday. We're gonna have a lot of fun at the beginning of the week predicting where a lot of these free agents go. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned later today, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to Dylan and Ross Save Sports live on Full Press Radio, or you can watch on YouTube, on our Facebook page, or right here on Full Press Radio on Twitter. So check it out. Give it a listen. Give them some support. It's a great show. Give us a follow at FPC Radio Live, at Full Press Radio. I'm at IGLEN31, and he is at MDABATEFPC. Talk to you soon, folks. Have a great day.